Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@usaprepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked. Here we go. Your dial set. Hey, the phone's ringing. Your dial set correctly to usaprepares.com. We're delighted to be with you this morning in class. We broadcast 2 hours from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. If you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Dr. Joel Wallach is in the front of the classroom with us this morning. Welcome, Dr. Joel Wallach.
Well, thank you, Vincent. Always appreciate being with you. Professor.
It's so great to hear your voice. You know, I've got so many questions today, but what I'd like to start out with is that you're going to be on stage at the RK Prepper Show, and that's September 30th and October 1st on the weekend, and in Kansas City, Missouri, the RK Prepper Show. And so my question for you is, can you give us a thumbnail sketch of the highlights of what you'll be talking about?
Yes, of course. And of course, all people have to do is kind of look back just a couple of days with all the emergencies we've had with hurricanes and earthquakes and floods, these sorts of things, and realize how much preparation you need to have on hand, just in case. Once the emergency occurs, it's too late to prepare. So you have to put it all in your car before the engine burns up, and you have to prepare for the emergency. And so we're blessed with the longevity to have all these emergency support products. Of course, the 90 essential nutrients. Your body functions go on. Everybody has to go to the bathroom. Everybody needs fluids. Everybody needs the 90 essential nutrients. Everybody needs food. And so we have all of these products. And we have 25-year shelf life freeze-dried meals in our Go Foods division. Of course, our 90 essential nutrients, which gives you all 90 essential nutrients, 16 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 acids, 3 fatty acids. Because if you're going to beat your peak performance during an emergency, whether it's mental or physical, physiological, you need all 90 essential nutrients. You can't just eat crackers or drink soft drinks. After a day of that, you're already on the downhill slide. And so it's imperative to be at your peak at all times, and then you must be on your peak plus when there's an emergency. And, of course, we have the colloidal silver for infections and cuts and wounds, prevent from getting infected. We have the Pure Works, which have to be the disinfectant soaps and sprays and foams, which actually are they work for 3 to 5 hours after you put them on after they dry. The Purell, these alcohol skin disinfectants, actually only work for like 10 seconds after they dry, so it's really not very useful. And, of course, we have the energy drinks. We have sports drinks with 100 nutrients in it. Some of them, like Gatorade, have 2 nutrients. Powerade has 6 nutrients. Our Rebound has 100 nutrients in it. There's no other sport and fluid and nutrient replacement drinks out there that have more than 10, except ours. Rebound has 100. 78 minerals, and the rest are vitamins, amino acids, and fatty acids. It's really a great drink. And comes in cans or individual serving pouches. And let's see here. We also have the sort of antibiotic thing. We also have pain relievers, topical and oral pain relievers in case you get a wound or an injury. You don't need to have prescription drugs for these things. We actually have blends of herbs and aromatherapy oils. One's called a trauma oil. It's a blend of half a dozen different aromatherapy oils, and you apply that to a wound or a lump or a bump, and within, say, 10 minutes, the pain is just totally gone, and you get pain relief for 3 to 5 hours. It's just fascinating. But you have to have all these things on hand. And, of course, we have coffee, we have tea, we have supplement programs for over 900 different diseases. So if you have diabetes, you need to have things on hand. We call our healthy blood sugar pack. You need to have a 90-day supply. I mean, they're talking about in Puerto Rico that they're not going to have electricity and power back for 3 months. Okay, and so it's really, you have to be prepared. And, of course, we have filtered bottles for water. You can take ditch water. I like to have paper coffee filters on hand, Vincent, to get the big pieces off, the bugs and the grass and the big chunks filtered through the paper coffee filters, and then put that sort of gross filtered water in our filter bottles, put the filter back on the bottle and squeeze it, and you're squeezing that water through the filter into your glass or drink bottle. And so now this is totally drinkable. And so I carry those things with me in the car, in the plane, in my suitcases, no matter where I'm at, because you never know when the emergency could come. And we also have the pet foods for our, the little guys, the pets, the dogs, the cats, the birds, the fish. We have for tails only, so we have all the emergency products for them, too, plus their food and supplement programs. And so I like to have 90 days worth of stuff for everybody in the house, including the dog and the cat. So these are the sort of things we're going to cover. And I actually have a book called Prepare. And the book Prepare actually goes into other ancillary things you're going to need, like magnifying glass. People say, why would you need a magnifying glass? I can start a fire if there's sunlight and during the day. I can start a fire with a magnifying glass. And I can also start a fire at nighttime with flint and steel. These seem pretty primitive things, but they work, and you have to have them in addition to matches. And, you want to have little solar panels the size of a iPad, so you can keep your iPad powered, and you can keep your computer powered, and your little Apple Watch powered, and all that kind of stuff. Because the electricity is out for a month, you want to have your own little solar power with you and keep everything up to date so you can keep track of what's going on. And so you have to be self-contained. I would like to have a couple of 5-gallon jerry cans full, or even a 55-gallon drum full of fuel, whether it's diesel or gasoline, and a pump or a siphon to get it out. And so we have to cover all bases. I hope that helps out and answers the question.
Yeah, Dr. Wallach, it does. Now, you've been to our farm here in Missouri. Now, you didn't have enough time on your schedule to take a full tour of the farm. But do you get the feeling that the kind of things that we talk about, the kind of things that I talk about here, that I actually do them? Do you get that impression that I'm not just reading about it and talking about it, I actually do the things that we discussed? Did you get that impression?
Yes, no, you have a working farm, and you have a working house, and these things you have to surround yourself with these things that are functional at any moment. And so, I was impressed. And I go around the world a lot, and I go to very primitive places. I go to very high-end, techie places. And so I can attest under oath that you are a man of your word, and you know what you're talking about. So I'm very proud to be working with you.
Well, thank you so much. And the reason I mentioned that, Dr. Wallach, I was not looking for a compliment. What I was trying to convey to our broadcast classroom is that when I say that I take certain supplements and I do certain things and I follow certain protocols, I'm not just imagining that. I'm actually doing that. And so I wanted to talk about that. Now, let me give you an example. The freeze-dry guy, he's been to a bunch of our events, probably all of our events, and one day after the expo was over, the Get Prepared Expo, I was exhausted, and he stayed over the weekend. So we were going to, it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday expo, Monday morning, back on the air at 9 a.m. Central, and we had a house full of guests, a bunch of instructors were here, and it was 2 weeks of non-stop controlled chaos. Okay, and so the freeze-dry guy and I were in the studio right here at the farm, and he said, I started the broadcast, and he said, you're not up to your normal level of energy. He didn't use different words, but basically said, you're not running on full speed. So I said, okay, I'm going to fix that, and I ran down to the kitchen from the studio, and I made some Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Stirred it up, drank it, came right back up, and within 15 minutes, literally 15 minutes, I had my normal amount of energy. And I wanted to ask you, what is it about Beyond Tangy Tangerine that does that? And it doesn't do it just for me. I believe it does it for just about everybody.
Well, it does. And you hit on probably the most important part about why one needs to supplement. People like to think, I've got good genes and I can get away with anything. Well, our genes, DNA, RNA, and telomeres, all these little biochemical things in every one of our cells requires 90 essential nutrients to function properly. The genes, DNA, RNA, and telomeres are just really blueprints that stamp out things, whether it be hormones or biochemistry or enzymes, and they require stuff to make this happen. They require the 90 essential nutrients, 16 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. Without them, even the very best of genes can't work. This is called epigenetics. I actually have a book out, Epigenetics, which covers the subject, which is rapidly taking over the science of genetics, because genetics is just a blueprint. You need all this raw material to make the genes and DNA and RNA and telomeres work properly. Then, so why do you have energy when you take the Healthy Start Pack, the core of which is the Beyond Tangy Tangerine NutriCrystals? 248 nutrients in there. 88 of the 90 essential nutrients are in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. So they give all of your cells everything they need to function properly and do their job, to convert food into energy, to convert excess energy into stored energy in your cells and in your fat stores, and the ability to take this fat and energy in your cells and, again, convert them into functional energy. And then we have everything requires stuff to work. Even your hormones require cofactors. Okay, for instance, digestion, absorption all require cofactors. For instance, you could be eating 5 pounds of vitamin B12, but without the intrinsic factor, which is produced by the stomach normally, your B12 cannot be absorbed. You can eat 5 pounds of it a day, and you still get a B12 deficiency without the intrinsic factor working. But the intrinsic factor needs an extremely acid environment in your stomach to work properly and bind up with the B12 to absorb it. And so you need to have plenty of salt. It's called salt. Sodium chloride is the raw material for keep cells in your stomach, make stomach acids so you can absorb B12, so it can do its job. So that's why these stuff makes you feel like you have energy. But you do. Without them, nothing works.
Yeah. Yep. Dr. Joel Wallach's with us. Class, if you'd like the number, the protocol and order hotline, 417-863-7149. We'll be right back. Yeah, I'm just kind of chuckling about a story, Dr. Wallach. I don't know if I've shared this with you, but we have a family friend, and he's in his late 70s, I believe, maybe even 80. He's a farmer. And he just shows up at the farm, in the mornings. He'll come over and say, something like, "You got coffee ready?" And, that kind of thing. He just shows up. And he's a wonderful, wonderful man. We love the family. And we were talking one day about his vision. And, he said, it's getting a little worse. And I said, well, let me tell you a story. And I told him a story about how you and I were at Ziggy's restaurant several years ago, and I was telling you that, my eyes were kind of burning a little bit and getting tired because I would be on the computer screen for, 2 or 4 hours, and then I'd be broadcasting for a couple hours, so I spent a lot of time behind the monitor screens, and you said, I can fix that. And I said, wow. How? And you said de-stress, and that is spelled D, the letter D, hyphen S-T-R-E-S-S. So you said, just take that. And you told me a couple times a day, and so I did, and sure enough, the eye strain went away, the eye pain went away, my vision improved. It was like a miracle. So I told him that story, and I said, tell you what, I've got some. And we gave him a bottle of de-stress, 120 capsules. And he came back, after he consumed it about a month later, and he said, I ran out of de-stress. So, okay. So, we gave him some more. Now, it's just something we do to help this guy, because we really like him, and he helps us. So it's kind of an unofficial trade, if you will. But what I'm saying is, he just doesn't forget that he's taking de-stress. He realizes that when he stops taking it, his vision is not as good. He doesn't have as much energy. Am I imagining this? Is it just him and me, or is it more universal than that?
Well, it's more universal than that, Vincent, because it's one of those things where every tissue in the body, including the eyes, require 90 essential nutrients, 16 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids, and you must supplement. These nutrients are no longer found in the food, not full amounts. In some cases, they're not there at all, particularly the minerals, because of our change in technology and so forth. As a result, we must supplement. And the reason why we have so many of these kinds of things going on is the nutrients are just no longer in the food. And so don't forget the 90 essential nutrients, 16 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids, basic program called the Healthy Start Pack. And then you throw in the de-stress capsules, as you say, capital D, like David, stress. And I'd like to throw in one more product with the de-stress capsules. It's called Ultimate Niacin Plus, because the de-stress capsules is a multivitamin designed to relieve stress. It has adrenal extract in it, all of which is good for all tissues, including the eyes. One of them is missing in that product, and it's called niacin. And one of the things that can actually cause problems with vision is pellagra, vitamin B3 deficiency. And so I like to throw in the Ultimate Niacin Plus with the de-stress capsules, and those two go along with the 90 essential nutrients, the Ultimate Healthy Start Pack, the Ultimate Healthy Start Pack. And that way you're getting all 90 essential nutrients with extra of the secret sauce, I call it, for the eyes. But also we have things in case people have glaucoma. They got blood pressure problems in the eye, so to speak, glaucoma. We have a program we call the Ultimate Daily Classic Tablets, and they're designed to support healthy blood flow through blocked arteries and support healthy blood pressure and healthy pressure in the eye. We also, if somebody has macular degeneration, I don't care if they've been legally blind 6, 8, 10 years, you do these things, the Healthy Start Pack, along with the de-stress capsules, the Ultimate Niacin Plus, and the Ultimate Daily Classic Tablet. But when you have the macular degeneration, you also need to throw in a significant antioxidant. And if somebody wants a liquid, they can take the Z radical. It's a blend of 3 different super juices and an extract red marine algae from off of Tasmania, an exotic place just off the eastern shore of Australia, as they say. And it has a substance in there called fucoidan that comes from red marine algae, a great antioxidant, particularly good for the brain and the eyes, for MS, multiple sclerosis, and for the eyes, to help get your vision back, even if you've been legally blind 6 or 8, 10 years of macular degeneration. But you do have to take the 90, the Healthy Start Pack, with it as the base. That's amazing what works. It's amazing. I won wagers on that one.
Dr. Joel Wallach's with us. And when we come back, Dr. Wallach, I'd like to ask you, why is Beyond Tangy Tangerine red in color? We'll be right back. Dr. Wallach's with us. Let me give you that number again if you'd like to find out about the RK Prepper Show. That's coming up at the end of this month, September 30th and October 1st. Dr. Joel Wallach will be there. And you can meet him. And you can sign up. And you can meet some more of the team here at USA Prepares. You can meet Brandy Brogdon. She's been on the air with us. You can meet Jim Stewart. Let me give you that number, 417-863-7149. 417-863-7149. If you'd like more information about the RK Prepper Show and the protocol and order hotline for Dr. Wallach's products. So, Dr. Wallach, during the commercial breaks, I just ran down to the kitchen. And, we have these, they're not like assigned seats, but it seems that I sit in the same seat around the kitchen table. And Mrs. Finelli sits in the same seat, regularly. My mom does. And so we all have unassigned but standard seats. And for some reason, when people come to visit the farm, they pick a couple of the seats around the kitchen table, and they seem to sit the same seats all the time. Well, I saw a bottle of de-stress on the placemat at one of the seats that one of our friends sits at. And I said to Mrs. Finelli, so what's this? She said, oh, he's coming over. He just called. He's bringing some tomatoes over, and he's coming to pick up some de-stress. So the guy that I was telling you about, our farmer friend, I didn't know it, but he's coming over in a couple of minutes, and he's going to be chatting with Mrs. Finelli, and they're going to have a cup of coffee, and I guess he's out of de-stress. So, we help him that way. He could order his own, but that's something that we just do because we really like him. So there's that second exclamation point about de-stress. My question about Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the one with 115 fruits and vegetables, Beyond Tangy Tangerine with 5,745 auric points, if you will, is red in color. Why is it red in color?
Well, there's two vegetables in there that actually offer the red color, reddish orange, and one is carrots, of course. You get the carrot juice, but you also get beets. So you have beet juice in there. And the two give it the color that is sort of famous for. And I'd take a dose of the BTT 2.0 crystals. I'd take 2 servings at breakfast and 2 servings at dinner time and a quart of water, along with my OsteoFX Plus, 2 servings of that twice a day. And I also take the Ultimate Cardio Sticks, which support healthy blood flow through arteries and support healthy blood pressure. And so I do that twice a day along with all my tablets and EFAs and capsules and so forth. Been doing it twice a day for 75 years. And so the colors indicate 2 things. Number one, the beta-carotene from the carrots actually is a precursor to vitamin A. So when you have this orangey red color, you have enough zinc to convert it. You need zinc, which is in the minerals. So you need all the cofactors. And the zinc actually helps your body convert beta-carotene into vitamin A. But then the red color in the beets actually increase the nitrous oxide levels in your blood, which also help dilate arteries and increase blood flow to the brain and the eyes and the heart and the liver and kidneys and legs and so forth. But it's also good to promote healthy sex lives in both men and women, because the nitrous oxide dilates arteries in all the places it's supposed to dilate arteries. So it's quite a very, very useful substance. And it's a great product. As I say, it has 248 nutrients in it, 115 fruits and vegetables and berries. It's not your mother's V8, it's V115. Plus it has the 90 essential, it has 88 and 90 essential nutrients in it. The other two are the EFAs, the omega-3s, which we have in soft gel capsules, either fish oils or from plants. So you have your choice. On one of our programs, we take both, the fish oil and the plant-based omega-3s, make sure we're coming from all the directions. And it's a great product, and it gives you, it's a significant portion. The VTT 2.0 crystals is a significant portion, 88 of the 90 essential nutrients. And the nice thing about it is it has a great shelf life because it is a crystal. We use the same technology. It took us 5 years to figure that one out, Vincent. It's the same technology as the instant coffee crystals, so where you just add the coffee crystals to hot water and you get the same aroma and the taste as if you were brewing that coffee yourself. And it's just, it took us 5 years to figure out how to do that with 248 nutrients. We got it done. And, of course, it is the core of everything we do.
Dr. Wallach, I've seen you at many events where we've had meals together, and I can attest that you absolutely, positively do exactly what you're saying. You do take the vitamins, mineral supplements. And I've noticed that you take Beyond Tangy Tangerine, BTT, as we call it, 2.0, I guess more often than the original Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the red one. So you take the more orange one, the crystals that you've been just talking about. Can you contrast those two products to help us understand which one we should gravitate towards?
Well, the basic program started, of course, with the original BTT. Okay, and it has a blue cap on it on the bottle. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit different color in the individual single dose pouches, and it is the original concept. Now, BTT 2.0 is a peach flavor, and it has an orange top to the bottle with a canister. And the original has a blue top, and it has a tangy tangerine. That's why it's called tangy tangerine. And the other one is a peach flavor. Now, the difference is We have certain different sources of vitamins in the 2.0 for people who might be really, 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 really sensitive to gluten. The original has some wheat and barley and oat grass in it, harvested from the sprouts they do in the sprouting machines and so forth. And the grass is cut 2 inches above the seed, so there's no access to the gluten that's found in the seeds of these grains. And there's a little bit different taste. And so we have the two options. People have their choice. And either one works for me, but I take the 2.0 just to be standard, get a little bit more of the nitrous oxide, a little bit more of the beta-carotene. But the original has it all. It's still one of our most cherished products by our following. And so it's just your choice to see which one works better for you. It's just a minor change in some of these sources of the beta-carotene and the nitrous oxide. And so just people have to make their choice. So you try one, try the other. I like this one better.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Let's say I were going to a convention, kind of the ones that you and I speak at. Let's say we're going to a gun show, and I planned on being there several hours. And I have a choice. I can open my wallet and buy a can of soda, or I can buy a can of a bottle of water, or as a preparedness-minded individual, I might say I'll bring my own water. Well, why would I not want to put a scoop of Beyond Tangy Tangerine in a water bottle and bring that with me? Is there any reason why it wouldn't last several hours in a water bottle and take it and sip it as I'm thirsty, as compared to just drinking something that I would purchase?
Oh, well, you want to stay away from the salt. They have a lot of negatives. Okay. And you can do that. Some people say, "Why if I slam my BTT down, even if it's in a quart of water and I drink it down real fast in say 30 minutes, I might get diarrhea. But if I sip on it for 2 hours, I don't have that problem." And also, when people drink a lot of liquid, you may notice this when you drink a lot of water. Within 10 minutes, I got to go to the bathroom. Have to go urinate because you only have so much volume space in your body, and you exceed that, your body wants to get rid of some of that fluid by urinating. Well, the same thing is true with nutrients. You take a big slug of nutrients all at once. Some of it's going to come out in your urine, you're going to waste it. And so if you have the time and the convenience, I would sip on it for an hour or two, because then you stay below that level of which you'll keep it all. You're actually going to get more benefit by sipping on it for a couple hours than if you slam it down in 15 minutes.
Well, that's where I was going. That's where I was going with that, because when you and I sit down and if we're at a restaurant, for example, you bring your own beverage, you bring your own Beyond Tangy Tangerine in a container. It's already pre-mixed, and you don't guzzle it. You drink it, during the course of the meal, and that's where I was going. I was trying to draw an analogy. If I'm going to be in the vehicle and I'm going to head out to Springfield, I'm going to be gone for several hours, why not just bring Beyond Tangy Tangerine in that water bottle with me and sip it, slowly? And so you've answered that question. Dr. Wallach, vitamin C, what are your thoughts on vitamin C, and what dosage do you like during a 24-hour day?
Well, vitamin C is a required vitamin, of course. It goes back to the days of sale. They didn't know the name of it, but they knew that if they didn't eat lemons and limes and oranges and green things, that they would get a disease called scurvy. And you can actually prevent and cure scurvy with vitamin C. It's a water-soluble vitamin, so you don't store it. So you do have to take it in several times a day. And I like to take in, say, just on a routine basis, when I'm going to be in the office, I might take in 2,000 milligrams twice a day. If I take in 10,000 milligrams twice a day, I'll get diarrhea because it's a good diuretic. And so I stay down around 2,000 milligrams twice a day. If I start feeling like I'm getting a little fever, getting a cold or something, I might go up to 2,000 3 or 4 times a day. And it supports the immune system. Your immune system loves vitamin C. And again, in the days of sail, 200 years ago backwards, 200, 300, 400 years ago, thousands of sailors died every year because they would live on salt pork. They didn't have any fresh green things that might have vitamin C in it, or no tomatoes or oranges or anything. But the British learned that if they would carry these limes with them and just suck on those limes during their trips, nobody died. That's what they call the British lime eats.
Fascinating. So when we come back, a couple questions. One, when's the best time to take vitamins, minerals, and supplements? And chronic fatigue. What is it? And what about asthma? What are your thoughts on treating asthma? Class, let me give you the telephone number if you'd like to get more information about the products Dr. Joel Wallach is discussing here today. 417-863-7149. 417-863-7149. And you can meet Dr. Joel Wallach September 30th and October 1st in Kansas City, Missouri at the RK Prepper Show. And if you call that same number, 417-863-7149, we'll give you more information about how to get there, where it is, and the highlights. Dr. Wallach, asthma. What are your thoughts on asthma?
Okay, well, asthma is a very simple disease, Vincent. It's actually a deficiency of a single nutrient. This nutrient is very difficult to absorb under natural, normal circumstances. When somebody is eating gluten, wheat, barley, rye, and oats, the actual gluten, the protein in these grains, actually damage the intestine. The damage is called contact enteritis. Your intestines will look like you've been eating poison ivy or salad. It's really a mess, and it's very difficult to absorb this nutrient. You're going to get rosacea, kind of a redness on the face, kind of like an Irish drunk, kind of thing. You can also get eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis all over the skin. And asthma goes along with that because it's the same nutrient deficiency that causes all these skin problems. And so you can usually get rid of asthma and these eczema and dermatitis within a couple of weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, simply by getting off all the bad inflammatory foods, the fried food, the processed meats, deli slices, sandwich meat, sausage, ham, bacon, bologna, salami, pastrami, pepperoni, jerky, corned beef, spam, oils, olive oil, coconut oil, margarines, mayonnaise, butter, and cooking oils. No gluten, very important here, no gluten, no wheat, no barley, rye, oats. And this includes having gluten-free dog food in the house and gluten-free cat food. Everybody in the household has got to be gluten-free so there's no cross-contamination in the laundry, the food preparation surfaces, and the couches and beds. And then the supplement, one healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight, and get an extra bottle of what we call the EFAs. One bottle of EFA pluses will come with the healthy start pack. It's the omega-3s from fish oils, and the EFAs are from plant seed oils. And you take 3 of the EFAs at breakfast and 3 of the EFAs at dinner, EFA pluses at dinner time. Guess what? Respiration gets better, skin gets better, and usually within 2 to 4 weeks, it's all gone because your body's able to heal itself. These are the things that are missing. But absorption is everything. You're not what you eat, you're what you absorb. So in addition to supplementing properly, the 90 essential nutrients plus the extra EFAs and EFA pluses, you're going to need to get rid of the bad foods, the fried foods, the processed meats, the oils, gluten to maximize your absorption efficiency. I've seen people, they're 11 and a half, 10 years old. The doctors say, they got a genetic form of asthma, and they're going to be dead within 2 months because they're not responding to medication, emergency medication or maintenance medication. You get them on the gluten-free diet, so they're going to begin to absorb the medication. You get them on the 90 essential nutrients, and in 2 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time, their asthma is gone, and it's a miracle. Well, you have to stay on the gluten-free diet forever. You have to stay on the 90 essential nutrients forever, Vincent, because these nutrients are no longer found in the food. And, of course, it's actually because of electricity. We used to get a lot of these nutrients in our food by putting our wood ashes in the garden. Well, wood ashes aren't ashes. They're really the minerals that the tree had sucked up out of the ground. The plant sucked up the minerals. You ate those plants, you got the minerals. Well, we don't have that anymore. Our plants now only require 3 minerals. We need 60. So if you're eating a pretty nice-looking tomato or a pretty nice-looking carrot, you might only be getting 3 minerals and be 57 sharp. So it's imperative to supplements. Stay away from bad foods, and all good things happen. Asthma is an easy one to prevent. Asthma is an easy one to get rid of.
That sounds wonderful. What about the vegan diet? I was watching a video on Netflix about, it's called What the Health. Health. And it seemed like it's a pro-vegan series, or not series, but film.
We only have here, Vinny, so just the short version is, if you want to be successful as a vegetarian or vegan, you have to supplement with the 90 cents of nutrients. You cannot depend on the food, and you can kill yourself being a vegan if you don't supplement.
There you go. Thanks so much for that brief answer, Dr. Wallach. And class, if you'd like more information, again, 417-863-7149. 417-863-7149. Dr. Joel Wallach, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your experiences and your recommendations for great health.
God bless you. Thank you, Danny. God bless your audience, and God bless America.
Everyone all set? Cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. If you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. And the listen line is up 24 hours a day, 605-477-3249. 605-477-3249. Kyle's engineering the broadcast at GCN. Andy Gibbs is with us, andygibbs.com. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you, Vince. Great to be back. Hey there, Vince.
Okay. I'm having dropouts here on the connection.
I'm here.
Okay. Looks pretty unstable. Oh, okay. Okay, Andy, I'm having some dropouts on the connection on my end. So if I disappear, just if you'll continue, please, and I'll reconnect. But Kyle, is the signal? It looks kind of flaky from my end. Is it okay or not? Okay.
I'm hearing you.
All right.
Okay.
So Andy. Okay. Well, great. Andy Gibbs is with us. AndyGibbs.com. Andy, we were talking about a startup in Silicon Valley last Friday, and we're going to continue that discussion today. So, how do you build a company, Andy?
That's a great question. And I have an approach to building a company that I think your students will really like. I'll start with an analogy. When people hop out of bed in the morning, they run towards something. They run towards work. They run towards the farm. They're running forward. And that's how most companies are built. And a lot of the schools and a lot of the how to build a company tutorials will tell you what to run forward toward. And I believe that's the wrong way. They try to tell you what pitfalls you may encounter and how to avoid them. I have a completely different philosophy that was taught to me many, many years ago. I don't know if many of your listeners will remember the jingle at night that would come on at 10 o'clock at night. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Well, what does that have to do with building a startup? That jingle, or that phrase, was coined by Mel Epstein in 1967. I ran into Mel when we were working for a mutual client, and Mel said, "You're going about it all wrong. You need to look backwards, not forward." And I thought this guy was crazy. So what do you mean look backwards? He said, hindsight is always 20/20. So the way to build a successful company is to project yourself into the future. Immerse yourself in the future. Imagine it. And so many studies have now reinforced the fact that the brain cannot differentiate between real and imagined, which means if you can imagine the perfect company, how it's working, what it does, what customers it serves, what problems it overcomes, viscerally imagine it, then you can look backward with 20/20 hindsight and say, how did I get here? And with that whole notion, you can pave the path to your future by looking backward. Now, I'm still a student, of this concept. But my latest company is built entirely on that principle. By looking forward, imagining the perfect big company, what problems it's solving, what it does, and that's been my path forward in building Unicorn Pet. This is my newest high-tech company. I've been at it for 3 years, taking my time, imagining, refining, and just now have introduced it publicly. I still got a lot of work to do on it. I know exactly where I'm going. But Unicorn Pet is going to be the next frontier in dog and cat nutrition technology and the highest quality pet food. So this is the approach that I'm using now. Unicorn is my next startup. And I've got a long ways to go, but I know exactly where I'm going.
Andy, I've seen your designs starting back in the 1980s, early 1980s. I've seen some of your fabulous, brilliant designs. You've done things with mechanical engineering that other companies hadn't done yet. When we were building our satellite communications products, I was amazed at how you could take a piece of paper and draw on a sketch on a piece of paper, a mechanical design that was really complex and very difficult to manufacture because of the angles and the kinds of fasteners that you wanted to use. That instead of just drilling a hole and putting a self-tapping screw in it, now you use stainless steel PEMs and use really interesting, innovative technologies in everything that you've done, including the aluminum fill on a, what would you call it, Andy? A case. We had a dual conversion down converter.
That's right, our down converter box. Yeah,
yeah, we manufactured a device that would allow a microwave frequency to be down converted to 70 megahertz. And it was a first in the industry. So instead of having this really heavy cable that you needed a pipe bender to bend, it was like a garden hose to run between the satellite LNA, the low noise device on the feed horn of the antenna. We were able to down convert that to 70 megahertz and use a standard RG58 cable, which was like the diameter of a pencil. It was revolutionary. But the problem was that the case was expensive to make. Back then it cost us $40 just to make the darn case. Well, you came up with a plastic resin, you filled it with 10% aluminum, and it shielded the device, and it worked great. And it took our cost, from $40 down to $1.15, something like that?
Yep. Yeah, it was cheap.
Yeah, and it worked.
Yes.
And it worked. So that's the kind of stuff that you've been doing for as long as I've known you. You've been really a brilliant innovator, way ahead of your time. And, when you talk about looking backward, projecting yourself into the future and looking backward, I got to tell you, I've made so many mistakes. And let me just tell you one of them that, the class may laugh at. So I was in a meeting with the president of a credit card bank, and we were talking about securitization, meaning selling a portfolio of debt. So what happens is that, the customers ring up all this debt on their credit cards, and you take $1 million worth at a time and you sell it. And I couldn't understand how you could sell debt. It was the most foreign concept I ever heard of. So a bunch of people owe you money, and then you sell that. It seems so nutty to me. And in the same meeting, they were talking about this new thing called ATMs. These automated tellers that hang on the side of buildings. And they said, yeah, people are going to pay $2.99 to withdraw money from their accounts. And I was thinking, who in their right mind would pay $3 to withdraw their own money from their own account at their own bank? Who would do that? Who? And it seemed like it never would work. And if I were a betting man, I would have bet against that. But boy, was I wrong. There are ATMs all over the place. So I had a great deal of difficulty projecting myself into the future at that time, because I thought, it can't possibly work. So this is a difficult concept for me, and I'm sure that our class members are having somewhat of a difficult time too. Now, I'm sure a lot of them are smarter than I am and have more knowledge and experience, and maybe it'll be easier for them. But was it difficult for you, Andy, to project yourself into the future and look back?
Absolutely. And it still is.
Okay.
And as I said in the opening, I'm still a student of this concept. Now, one way to look at it a little bit shorter term, a lot of those designs, and almost most of the designs that you refer to that I come up with, I design during lucid dreaming. I said the brain cannot differentiate between imagined and real. So when I dream, I intentionally dream the design of these products. I encounter problems. I make my dream go the other way. So a lot of the designs are refined during lucid dreaming, or even during daydreaming during the day. Close your eyes and let your imagination work. The brain will work mysterious ways. Let it work. And those designs, those solutions that you come up with to your problems that are imagined, wake up and apply them because they're real. These are real solutions you can use today.
I've got a comment about that when we come back. I'm with you. I'm on the same page. AndyGibbs.com. AndyGibbs.com. Andy Gibbs is with us. AndyGibbs.com. And Andy, you know, I've taken a page out of your book. I didn't tell you, but I use the same technique as you. But I would refer to it a little differently with our family. My son and I were building a solar rack, and you know, I could buy one. I could buy one pre-engineered and just pay for it and have it delivered. But it was a lot more expensive than I was willing to pay. And we live in Tornado Alley here in Missouri, so I needed to have a solar panel rack that would support 26 to 30 solar panels, about 3 feet by 6 feet in dimensions. And I wanted them to sustain 100-mile-an-hour winds, and they needed to face south. And so, you know, I looked at angle iron, welding angle iron, tube steel. I looked at 6x6 posts in the ground. I looked at 2x-something dimensional lumber, 2x6, 2x8. You know, looked at lots of different ways of building this. And I ended up using industrial shelving, the kind that you'd see at Home Depot or Lowe's or Sam's Club. And really heavy industrial shelving, the kind that would support 10, 12,000 pounds per shelf easily. And I bought it all surplus. But I would say to my son was anxious to bang this out and get it built. And I would say, no, I want to sleep on it. I want to think about it. I'm not happy with the design. And I would sleep on it. I'd come up with a better design. I'd show him, you know, the next day. And then he'd say, okay, let's build it. And I go, well, I'm still not happy with it. I want to sleep on it again. And so it actually took me, by the time the final design was well over a month of sleeping at different times on these designs. Finally got a really good design. And I'll even put some pictures on the internet. I think it's as good as it gets in terms of strength and low cost. And so where did this come from? I remember back in the 1980s when you wanted to build a new or a better design for our products. You would take what you called a power nap, and you would just lie down during the day, 10 minutes. You would take this power nap, and I believe what you were doing is trying to solve a problem that you couldn't solve before you took the power nap. Is that true?
It is true, and it usually happened right around 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And within a minute, I was in REM sleep. I could take myself down, and when I would wake up refreshed, I would have answers in 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Class, I saw it. I absolutely saw it. And, from my perspective, I can't believe it. It's the middle of the day, and Andy's sleeping. But it'll only be for a really short time. Now, and so it took a long time for me to understand exactly how this works. But I do the same thing. I literally do the same thing. And it drives my son absolutely crazy because he wants to know why I don't have the answer right now. I don't have the answer right now. I have to think about it. And he wants to know why I have to think about it. How come I just don't know? Well, I don't know. I have to think about it. And that's what I do. So I took a page out of your book. Thank you very much, Andy Gibbs. So Unicorn Pet. Unicorn Pets. UNICORNPETS.com. Where did the name unicorn come from, Andy?
The unicorn, in mythology, the unicorn is the only mythological creature, the only one that was benevolent, was a protectorate of all of its fellow creatures. And the unicorn horn was said to remove poisons from water and food and increase the longevity of all those that came in touch with the unicorn horn. And the entire approach to Unicorn Pet is to deliver the highest quality, purest food and monitor the water, increase the longevity of our pets, and increase the health of the pets. So Unicorn, being a benevolent creature, really laid the groundwork for what Unicorn Pets does. And our entire focus is to help pets live longer, healthier, and happier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you put that in just economic terms, one of our dogs was, I thought he was pretty expensive, my dog, Thomas Jefferson. He was $800. He probably will live about 8 years. He's an English Mastiff. He's a big boy. It's $100 a year, just in monetary terms. That's without the vet's bills, and that's without food and water. We'll be right back. Andy, there aren't many people who have their name as a .com. I know you do, and I do, but it's not all that common, is it?
No, it isn't. And, you know, you look for the real easy business opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
If we knew back in the mid-'90s what we know now, for $50 or $100 at the time, we could have locked up cars.com, radio.com. I mean, all of these domains that were later sold for millions, we could have had for $100. So the hindsight didn't work in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Andy, can we just talk for a minute about one of your, maybe your very first product, your phlebotomy product? Can you share with us what that was? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. When the AIDS epidemic first appeared in the early 80s, poor hospital workers emptying the trash would get stuck with needles through the bag. And there was the problem defined clearly. If we don't have needles sticking out of the syringes and the phlebotomy sets, then people can't get stuck. So I said, how can we create a system that would retract the needle? And I slept on it and came up with a number of approaches to retract the needle up into the barrel so it was not sticking out. It couldn't hurt anybody. And I developed a number of different designs. I patented the designs, and I was going to go into that business. Little did I know that it was a very closed market controlled by 3 or 4 huge medical device companies and was effectively blocked from ever getting into that business. So even the best invention, the benevolent inventions, those products that would save lives, enhance lives, you're trying to do good for society, there's always a big corporation that doesn't want you to go there. And I'm actually looking at that same scenario with Unicorn Pet. I'm changing the the dynamics of pet food and pet feeding. And one study that I've just completed internally shows that the big pet food corporations are selling almost $2 billion, that's with a B, $2 billion worth of extra pet food that is making pets obese, fat. Over 55% of the pets in the United States, and that's 200 million dogs and cats, are obese. Vincent, you talked about the cost, the economics of pet care. An obese pet will cost their owner between $4,000 and $7,000 more over the life of that pet than a healthy weighted pet. So once again, there is the problem. Obese pets will die 2.5 years earlier than the healthy weighted pet. So that was my directive.
Andy, I can tell you this, that when a farmer has a sick cow, we're talking about a 1,000-pound animal, and a farmer calls the veterinarian out to the farm. So the veterinarian takes his truck with the all the accessories in the bed of the truck, and the what would you call it? It's like
a mobile vet.
Yeah, it's a mobile veterinary clinic. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a mobile hospital. He arrives, and he can do things like pull a calf, vaccinated calf, treat wounds, and all those things, okay? When the farmer gets the bill and it's $120, the farmer goes, wow, that was a lot of money for a cow, for a 1,000-pound cow. However, when Fluffy, the cat, is brought into the veterinary clinic and it's $300 for the checkup plus the meds plus whatever, it's like, wow, thanks for saving Fluffy's life. And that's okay. So $300 for a 5-pound cat seems like it's okay, but $120 for a 1,000-pound on-site house call seems like a lot of money. So you're right. People will spend a lot of money on their dogs and cats as compared to farm animals. And I fully understand that. So Andy, it's nothing new for you. You're taking on the biggest of the big. That's what we did with satellite communications receivers and the technologies that we were building back in the 1980s. Now you're taking on Purina, with your new company, unicornpets.com. You're taking on the biggest of the big.
Yes.
Are you concerned about your safety? Are you concerned about your safety?
Not about the safety. I'm concerned that I'm betting the farm on the business, and the big boys have a lot more resources than I do, and they could crush me. So that's always the risk. I'm hoping that I can run faster and really establish a stake in the ground and grow. If I have a loyal group of followers who understand that I am as concerned about the health and welfare of their pets as they are, then there's my market. I've developed a relationship with the customers that even the big boys won't be able to penetrate. And that's my goal, is to run quickly and get there before I can be crushed.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And we've seen some of these crushing forces firsthand. You have, I have, Bert has. Together, we have seen the threats, and we've seen how money can be applied to literally crush a little company. And we always thought and bet on the fact that we could turn on a dime where, we could make a decision in a minute that would take them 3 meetings of committees to accomplish. Absolutely, no question about it. So, Andy, what can you share with us about your newest company, the directions? Maybe can you share a little bit of the products, or is it too premature to do that?
No, I'd be happy to. So, the notion that we have over 55% of the pets that are obese, they're going to die early, and they're going to cost a lot of money to keep them alive. And most importantly, the last few years of their life will be miserable because they will have obesity-related diseases, diabetes, kidney failure, and the pets shouldn't have to go through that. So it came down to a real simple concept. Calories in, calories out. And I thought, that's easy. Control the number of calories going in and control the number of calories, or at least understand how many calories the pet burns, match those up, and we can keep the pets eating exactly what they should be eating every day and keep them healthy and keep them at the proper weight. And that concept then drove all of the technology. What technology do I need to compute how much every dog and cat in the United States, how many calories they would burn or should burn every day? Well, there are products out there called Fitbit for humans and the new Apple iWatch, and it counts how many calories you burn during the day. And I said, well, that's easy. We'll just get one of those and apply it to dogs and cats so I know how many calories they actually burn, and I know how many calories will go into the food. So every package of food is filled with the perfect number of calories for every one of the pets. So if you have Fluffy burns 700 calories a day. We manufacture 14 packages of 700 calories and deliver it to you. So you open the package, no measuring, no concern, and Fluffy eats all of the food, drinks the water during the day, and we record all of that information. Now, how do we know when a pet is feeling bad? They can't talk to us. So software in the background takes a look at how many calories Fluffy ate today, how much water Fluffy ate today, and then it compares it to how much did they eat and drink last month and last year. And if we see the amount of water Fluffy is drinking has gone up and up and up and up, this is an early indication of a number of nutrition-related or identifiable disease, diabetes. When a pet starts drinking more water, that's an indication, one indication of early onset diabetes. So before the organs, Fluffy's organs start to go bad because of diabetes, we identify it and we send a text alert to Fluffy's owner and says, it looks like Fluffy is having a problem. The faster you can get Fluffy to the vet, the easier it is to cure or manage that disease. You save money and you save misery of the animal. So that's the approach.
Absolutely fascinating. So sounds, Andy, to me like you've built this algorithm to monitor the health of our pets. We'll be right back. AndyGibbs.com. Andy Gibbs is with us, unicornpets.com. Andy, so you looked at the future of pet food, you looked at the medical costs, you looked at the health costs, and so from the future you looked back to solve the problems, and you came up with this company called unicornpets.com. Do you have any other issues that you have to resolve going forward, or do you think you pretty much have them figured out? And, because you've got your algorithm figured out as to, how many calories Fluffy consumes and spends per day, the water consumption, and the change in water consumption and food consumption and so forth, to determine whether, Fluffy's got an illness coming on. Is there anything else that you're working on with this particular design of the company, or do you think you have it pretty much figured out?
Yeah, there are two elements, and I'll talk about the market for just a moment. Anybody going into business needs to look at a couple of things. One is that it has to be a huge market. I can come up with a beanie copter hat that has five propellers on it, and it's going to be original. But the reality is, I'm not going to sell many. I mean, who needs that? A beanie hat with 5 propellers. So, looking at a very, very large market is critical because if you only get a tiny piece of it, you still have a viable business. And that's one of the things that pet food is a huge market. And if I'm only looking at those that are really concerned about the health of their pet, it's still a big enough market that it warrants putting all of this time and energy into. So the market is there. The business model is a critical component. All of this technology, there are a number of technology companies out there that are trying to sell the technology. So I said, how can I not sell the technology? So the business model that we've chosen is one, we lifted a page from the old cell phone business model. If you sign up for our service, our cellular service, you can pick out any telephone for free. So that same approach, if you're paying $40 now a month for your pet food, with us, you pay $40 a month. And you get all of the technology for free. So we think we have the model that is going to satisfy the average pet owner. There's no additional cost. So we have that taken care of. Now, the food is a really critical thing. And we have our food formulators that are looking at creating the best possible foods. And what we're finding, if we're trying to be benevolent, is that a lot of the pet foods are very damaging to the economy or to the environment. It takes a lot of water to raise the beef and the chickens. And is there a better way to get a high-quality protein for a lot less? And the answer is yes. Crickets, insects, they're eaten by societies all over the world. And if you ever noticed Fluffy or the dog will run around the yard and snatch up insects, eat them, because they're very high protein. And we're looking at that kind of a protein as the basis for all of our foods. Now, interestingly, it's a big challenge. Insect proteins are approved right now for human food. You can buy energy workout bars with insect protein, but it's not approved for pets. So we have a big hurdle to get the U.S. to agree to let pets eat the same insects that they let humans eat. So that's going to be one of our big challenges over the next year.
Andy, let me share with our class a little bit about who you are in a couple seconds. I was telling one of our instructors, hey, if you ever look at one of those rooftop carriers that you see on cars, if you looked at three of them, one of them is probably designed by Andy Gibbs. And I named the company, and he goes, no way, I've got one, and it's great. So, Andy, thanks so much for being with us.